So Wolfwalkers is a thing. This is hands down the best animated movie I have seen since... When did Kubo and the Two Strings come out? 2016. I'm hoping that you've at least heard of Wolfwalkers. It's too brilliant to be ignored. It's stunningly beautiful in its visuals and in the simplicity and grace of its storytelling. I freaking love this movie! I'm half torn with just ending the video here and just telling you to go watch it, but that would sort of defeat the purpose of explaining what this movie does so well. Also, you can probably tell by the YouTube marker that there's still way more video to come anyway. Wolfwalkers was brought to my attention through the power of the internet. The singer-songwriter Aurora had posted a song, so I checked it out, and it said the song happened to be a re-recorded version of her single Running with the Wolves for a new animated movie called Wolfwalkers. So I thought to myself, who re-records a single? No, actually, I thought, Aurora's a big name, so why have I not heard of this movie? And there it was. This gorgeously animated story of this young girl learning about wild magic in Ireland and the mysterious Wolfwalkers. The movie has only recently gained some attention because it was nominated for a Golden Globe and Oscar. Unfortunately, it lost the Globe to Soul, and it will likely lose the Oscar too. Now, I'll be the first to admit that Soul is a great movie. I mean, I didn't shut up about it for almost a half an hour. And I'm not saying that Wolfwalkers is a better movie, it's just different. It's different from what we would usually see, and it's different from what usually wins these kinds of awards and nominations. Wolfwalkers' visual style and story was so evocative, and I haven't felt that choked up in a movie since... When did Your Name come out? Oh, also 2016. That was a good year for animated movies. Everything about Wolfwalkers is different in an almost subversive way, and I don't mean that the narrative is subversive. It's actually pretty straightforward, masterfully done and exceedingly charming, but not novel. No, I mean that everything the movie says and does in its visual style, story setup, casting, and history all diverge from how normal animated movies for children are presented. The themes of its story are not revolutionary, perhaps, but are outside the norm for Western animation. Although the movie is gaining some recognition, I want to emphasize that it deserves more attention because it could set a precedent for future animated movies and where they come from and who can make them. And so today, I want to talk about Wolfwalkers. Wolfwalkers is actually the third and final movie in a trilogy from the multi-talented Irish filmmaker Tom Moore. The goal was to create a conceptual trilogy that explores the themes and lore of Irish folktales, with this movie being the grand finale. I wish I had heard of The Secret of Kells and The Song of the Sea, the first two movies that precede this in the trilogy, but I think that only highlights the importance of the position this movie could have in the zeitgeist. This being the finale to the trilogy, it had a bigger budget to work with, and so Moore let the very talented animators at the small Irish animation studio Cartoon Saloon get nasty creative with their approach to animating this movie. But this is also noticeable in the casting. Before, the biggest name that they had worked with was Brendan Gleeson, but now they can boast the name Sean Bean, who doesn't die, and Honor Nefsi. You know, the younger sister princess from The Christmas Prince? Yeah, actually a fantastic young actress, and killing it in this movie. This is your obligatory spoiler warning, but you should really go watch the movie because it's more of an experience. The movie takes place in Ireland in the 1650s, where a young English girl and her father move to the town of Kilkenny and are under the orders from the Lord Protector to hunt and kill a pack of wolves that protect the woods and are preventing the town from expanding. While following her father, the young girl, Robin, meets the wolves and their leader, another young girl named Maeve, who changes into a wolf when she sleeps. The pair seem to hit it off despite their differences, but Robin knows that everyone, including her father, wants to kill the wolves. But Maeve cannot leave because her mother has not returned to her sleeping body. In the misadventures of that day, Robin is bitten by Maeve and becomes a wolf herself when she sleeps, hunted by the town and her own father. She accidentally stumbles on the location of the mother wolf who has been locked up by the Lord Protector, but refuses to be helped. Instead, the mother wolf tells Robin to convince Maeve and the other wolves to leave. Robin is now torn between her duty to her father and the Lord Protector, and the fact that she feels it is right to protect Maeve and free her mother. The plot is kind of the second thing I noticed. I mean, I was invested in the characters when the movie really got going, but what intrigued me at first was the visuals. Man, this movie is so visually astounding. The line art all sketchy and expressive, it feels rough as though the pencil lines of the sketchwork are still visible. And the colors, oh, colors. Such a great use of the whole palette to create stunning characters and scenery. The colors are blended into a gradient that fades between brilliant hues that push past the boundaries of objects and entities that are drawn. Wolfwalkers isn't concerned with coloring inside the lines. Wolfwalkers does what it wants when it comes to colors. It's messy and wild and astoundingly beautiful. All of the art in this movie is striking, but there's still a clear difference between the geometric order of the built-up city with its brown and gray hues, contrasted by the grandiose spirals and organic curves in the forest with its beautiful warm fall colors that transition into the various greens and grays of the woods and stones. The style also bends perspective a lot. There are scenes where characters are presented from a side angle, but backgrounds are top down in the same shot, or the objects and setting characters interact with are in another angle. A lot of the time I was reminded of the paintings of the Impressionists or angular monistic tapestries. To add to this, Wolfwalkers occasionally purposefully messes with its aspect ratio. That's an overly technical way of saying it changes the borders of the picture. It does this in order to highlight specific objects or characters, or to add to the emotional drama of a scene. This is something that most animated movies don't do at all. Wolfwalkers even slowly pushed a frame in during one scene to emphasize a kind of cage that Robin feels like she's being trapped in, and then it pushed those boundaries back outwards when she made her choice for freedom. It's more fluid and noticeable than the static shifts from the rest of the movie. At some points, the border appears like the edge of a painting. It's a really interesting way to play with the appearance of paint in the medium of motion picture. This is really good stuff. The visual style is thrilling, and it's unlike the standard animation that Westerners are used to. It doesn't adhere to realism the way that those of us in the West have come to expect from the full-length animated features that we watch. But if you meet this movie on its own terms, you end up realizing that every frame is a beautiful piece of art in itself, and that the purpose of this art style is to convey a feeling. There are even a few spots where the movie fades to white and then back again to draw attention to the painted nature of the visuals and the storybook quality. It's as though an old fairy tale is being told while the illustrations from the book itself come to life right in front of your eyes, and that is so immediately recognizable as unique, and like every other visual thing in this movie, I didn't know that I wanted it. But as it turns out, I needed it! Wolfwalkers also doesn't really care if you follow along with the setup of its story. Sometimes when I watch Western animation, I feel as though I am distinctly watching a medium that is for children. Of course, there are jokes and themes that will resonate with adults, and those are hilarious when they happen.
It's a bear!
There are no bears in San Francisco.
I saw a really hairy guy. He looked like a bear.
But there are often points in those kinds of movies where I feel like the movie is explicitly telling me that I need to understand something about the theme or story or setup in an almost condescending manner. Wolfwalkers doesn't give two shits about this. It still wants you to follow along with the story, but it's more concerned with bringing the messiness of this world to life. Of course, the actors do a great job, but their accents are heavily English and Irish, and because both Robin and her father are poor, they have even heavier accents. And all of the Irish folk carry their brogue with little care about whether you can keep up with it.
I'm a hunter.
I'm a hunter. Would you listen to her fancy-dancy accent?
I am a hunter.
Characters talk over one another and often mumble. The effect is like the art. It's messy, but it serves a purpose. The town is busy and chaotic. There isn't a clean conversation that sets things up the way you would see in a Disney feature because life doesn't work that way. Irish and English people of the time wouldn't speak in a way that was easy to understand for the purposes of underpinning the meaning of their emotional journey. Nobody in real life talks that way anyway. Unless you're me reading out an essay, and that in itself has a degree of artifice. Instead, the story is easy to follow because the choices and actions the characters choose make it extremely obvious what their wants and goals are. As I said, the narrative is pretty straightforward. Anyone with a basic sense of story structure can foresee story beats long before they happen, but they're all executed masterfully and have all the right implications for characters and their relationships. That makes the story easy to follow and understand without needing to make sure audiences keep up. Instead, Wolfwalkers can embrace that wilder quality of its own art and just get on with telling this great story. A simple story that is told well allows Wolfwalkers to explore more complex themes, and a lot of these are rooted in both the characters' actions and history, and even play back into the visual artistic motifs. Of course, this movie is about environmentalism. The visuals of this movie are rife with this kind of imagery right from the get-go. Just look at this shot of the tree. Every time we cut back to it, we can see that more and more of the forest is cut down as the town slowly encroaches, until finally we get this shot, where the tree itself is cut. I think that anyone watching can see that this movie is concerned with environmentalism, but there are more complex themes at play too. The easiest of these to parse out is the dichotomy of the wild freedom of the woods and the ordered structure and civilized society of the town. Robin is new to Kilkenny, she does not feel like she belongs, and she yearns to be outside in the wild with her father. Maeve, who lives in the forest, straight up just says that the forest is better.
It's great. Loads of running, playing, eating, messing, climbing. Free.
This is everything that Robin wants, her freedom. This is reflected in the visuals of both domains, the order of the town versus the flowing shapes of the forest. This is not a complex theme on its own, but it works because it's played in direct conflict with the theme of family. Robin feels that she has a duty to her father. She feels that she needs to listen to him even though he doesn't really seem to listen to her. She also wants to save Maeve, but is incapable because of her ties to her family. Maeve, on the other hand, wants to keep herself and the wolves safe, but will not listen to Robin and leave because of her loyalty to her mom while she waits for her to return. But this is only just skimming the surface, because the setting of this particular movie is more than just a forest and a town. This is Kilkenny in the 1650s, and that means it's time for a history lesson. Don't you groan at me! For people not born in the UK, the term Lord Protector might not mean anything to you. I just assumed that it was a fantastical term for a feudal lord that worked for a king or was a steward of the throne. Nope, turns out that this was an actual dude, and all of this rant suddenly made a lot more sense.
The great Lord Protector, renowned for being true to his word. Hilarious. At least the old king kept us safe.
Yeah, not just world building or the ranting of an old Irishman, but actual history, which means the Lord Protector, also a real dude. Oliver Cromwell was the Lord Protector for a short while because he and a bunch of his friends thought, wouldn't it be great to behead the king? So they did that, and then they all voted Cromwell as the leader of Parliament and called him the Lord Protector. For anyone who isn't really familiar with the British Isles, this also affected Ireland because they were still being ruled, but now it was by the Lord Protector. And he was not kind to them. He came in and basically said that England was Protestant, Catholicism wasn't the good kind of Christianity, and he tried to stamp that nonsense out. So, you know, if that's how he felt about Catholics, what does that say about his stance on paganism? So why does this matter for Wolfwalkers? Well, a lot of what drives the Lord Protector in this movie is his religious fervor. He believes that it is his God-given right to rule over Ireland and its people and stamp out the enemies of his God. This matters a great deal to Robin's father, who has a duty to the Lord Protector if he is indeed carrying out the will of God. This also affects the line of duty that Robin has from her father through transitive properties. It directly informs how Robin and her father are treated as two English people moving to Ireland, and the fact that the Irish were not particularly happy with being ruled over. And this matters a lot for why the whole town is more ordered and structured and oppressive to Robin. Also, because she's female. While working in the scullery, Robin is told by other workers, her father and the Lord Protector, that work is prayer. This is the Protestant work ethic, and it's just a wee bit super incredibly oppressive and depressing. There is another layer of complexity added because in town, Robin as a woman is treated literally as a servant to the needs and order of the Lord Protector and her father, both men. This decision is reinforced by the Protestant work ethic and the kind of worldview that instills in the placement of women in society. Contrast that with the Wolf Pack and Maeve, who are led by Maeve's mother, who is shown to be the strongest and largest of the wolves, as well as having the greatest magic. The town is distinctly patriarchal, while the Wolfwalkers in the wild are clearly matriarchal. So when Robin sets herself against her father's wishes, this is far more meaningful than just the theme of duty to family set against morality and freedom. It is those things, to be clear, but it's also about defying oppression from religion, from the patriarchy, from dogmatic worldviews, from servitude, and from one-sided arguments. Whew, that's a lot of history and themes in one story. This movie is a celebration of Irish lore, and I like that it chooses to have an English main character to do that, because it's still about bucking against the oppression that Ireland has gone through, but without expressly needing to blame anyone, except for the Lord Protector. Fuck that guy. The movie is a kind of fuck you to all of the things that the Lord Protector embodies thematically in the movie, and what that meant for Ireland, but it does this with his primary protagonist also being English, who's oppressed by all of the same things in all of the same ways as the country of Ireland. Although this could easily be chalked up to my interpretation, like most of the stuff I do on This Is a Thing, I certainly think that Wolfwalkers is overt in its choice of these themes and setting and time. Not many other animated children's movies would have the balls to go out and make a statement about the history of oppression on a whole freaking country. Which brings me to the whole point of this rant. I don't really like award shows. They are presented as though nominees are competing against one another for the honor of winning best whatever. This defeats the purpose of art. In my opinion, art is not a competition. That would imply that one art can be better than another art. And you can't do that with something that's subjective. Subjective experience of a thing is the entire point of art. A single person's creative exploit and expression that is then enjoyed by another individual or individuals in their own subjective way. And that's not what award shows do. But we have them, and they're not going away because Hollywood and its executives are keen on self-adulation, if you know what I mean. They want to give each other and themselves a pat on the back by picking their friends to win awards so they can in turn be picked for the same awards. I believe the technical term for this is a circle jerk. Yeah, let's not forget that Boss Baby was nominated for an Oscar. Earlier I mentioned the movie Kubo and the Two Strings, which in its year lost out to Zootopia. Zootopia is a good movie. A great movie, but Kubo and the Two Strings did a lot of revolutionary things in its storytelling, and it also had a gloriously lush visual style. But the Academy is all about people from that business reinforcing those ideas. Why would they pick Kubo and the Two Strings? I also happened to mention the movie Your Name, which is a beautiful and heartbreaking full-length animation from Japan. It was not even nominated the year it came out, which is a fucking travesty. Now, I know it's likely Wolfwalkers will not win, and I really don't think it's worth ranting about how the Oscars are terrible. It's all a rigged popularity contest anyway, and that goes without getting into all the details of international movies and the issues with representation, which I don't want to undercut, but it isn't the point that I'm trying to make right now. The point I'm trying to make right now is that this movie is great, and it deserves the recognition even just for the fact that it's not Disney, and they shouldn't have a monopoly on the animated movie market. There is room for animated art from other studios. I want to see more movies like this, or Claws, or Over the Moon, or Into the Spider-Verse. Movies that change the way we think about how stories can be told and who can tell them in the animated sphere. Because art is for everyone, and that means it can be made by anyone. And we need to break down stigmas that you have to be some huge studio in order to do this. Art doesn't need to adhere to one style or even make visual sense for it to be important. And that is why I think Wolfwalkers deserves to be seen and demands to be recognized. Some stray thoughts. I love Maeve and her mother's hair. So gorgeous. There's this scene where Robin brushes Maeve's hair and it just looks so lush. I really love how simple this story is, and yet I was invested every step of the way. I also highly recommend the short movie The Breadwinner from Cartoon Saloon. Great storytelling and also visually astounding. I don't know what it is about wolves, but they really have captured the imagination, and this has continued from ancient times until now. I mean, I've wanted to turn into a wolf ever since... When did Twilight Princess come out? 2006. Hey, thanks so much for watching that episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and feel free to share it around with the rest of your pack. I tried to mention a variety of animated movies, but if I missed your favorite, please let me know in the comments. You can always catch more episodes of This Is a Thing, as well as the long and the short of it, and our weekly podcast right here on Cinemasters Ultimate Timeline.